Thanks a lot. Yeah, so I'm the founder and CEO of GadgetTrak. We make a product called GadgetTrak you guys are probably familiar with. Make sure you get cards around there, the license keys, make sure you install it on your devices. And I'll talk a little bit more about that at the end too, how you can actually help us get even WordPress. So, a lot of people come up and they talk about, their products, things like that. And what I wanted to actually cover is something that'd be useful for you. I've been accused of being a media whore, and there's a reason for that. When it comes to your company and your product, even if you have the best product in the world, it doesn't mean anything if you don't get the word out about that product. And in Portland in particular, it's really difficult to do that. In the Bay Area, there's lots of news outlets that talks about tech and startups and things like that. So I kind of wanted to cover a little bit more about how we did it. I'm going to start from the beginning of my company and how sort of PR played a key component in that, and how you too can be a media whore. So how my company started, it started as a side project. I was actually working in a security company. I was really doing a lot of research on investigating USB-based Trojans and viruses. I was actually writing a few as proofs of concepts. And I stumbled on this idea of actually taking this technology that the hackers were using and actually applying it for white hat purposes. Not just to steal data off networks and infect computers, but actually have devices identify where they are, who's in possession of them, and other types of things like that. So I launched the project as just a side project. I was actually working on my master's dissertation at the time, and I found a way to make devices phone home. It was a minimal viable product, to say the least. Lots of bugs in it, but it worked. I actually was testing it out with one of my coworkers. I sent them flash drives, things like that. Here's a presentation you got to load, and I'd be able to show, their location, the name of the person logged into their computer, and a bunch of other information, which they weren't too thankful for. But I launched it as a side project, and I put it out there. And one thing I did was I put it on Dig, and I made a bet with my wife. I said, all right, it's a long shot, but if this makes it on the homepage of dig.com, I'm going to offer this for free. If it makes it there, then I'm going to start a business, and I'm going to file a patent for this technology. 24 hours later. I had this thing running on a really shitty web host, DreamHost. The whole thing, it got dug to the ground. I was able to actually get it up on a private server fairly quickly. I had like 20,000 people registering for the service. And what I found that was interesting is that when you get on the homepage of sites like this, it feeds into other news. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, I'm on TechCrunch and Gadget, Lifehacker. So I got a lot of buzz out of this. I also had a lot of people from various companies approach me to say, how can we bundle this with our software? One of them was Seagate. Right out of the gate, I had a $20,000 deal with Seagate Technologies to bundle our software with some of their external hard drives. This is still a side project. I didn't get any funding. It was completely bootstrapped. I should also note that ever since then, as we launched new products, we've done a lot more innovation, a lot more engineering, gotten some funding. This is all the press we've received over the last few years. Been on Dateline NBC, we've been on Good Morning America twice, New York Times, Forbes. I'll kind of talk a little more about that as well. And a lot of these guys actually come back to us, and I'll talk about how you can create those relationships so that it's not just about your product, but it's also about your industry and becoming a subject matter expert in your field. I'd also note that the press actually can backfire. As I mentioned, it was a side project. I was actually working for another company. Even though they fully knew about GadgetTrak, I was on the news locally. And one day I got called into the office, and I was like, what's this about? I walk in, and there's all the executives of the entire company plus their attorney. They gave me an option. They said, we won't let you have. We're going to have you sign over the intellectual property over to us, or you're going to go out on your own. GadgetTrak was born. So one thing I learned is, a lot of people say like, hey, I'm not good at PR, I can't write a press release, I'm a tech guy, I don't know how to write, right? But so if you want to go out there and you're a startup, you don't really need a PR firm. Odds are they're going to cost between $5,000 to $10,000 a month, and that's on the low end, right? If you're going to want to get some serious attention, you can be paying a lot more than that. And this is really just having people write press releases for you and doing a lot of outreach to bloggers and things like that. And these are things you can do yourself. And think about where that money can be used. You should be focusing on your product. So that money needs to go into the development of your product, getting your website built. There's a lot of places that money can be better spent, and you don't need to put that into a PR firm. You also need to define the story. It's not just important to define the story for the press, it's also important for you to define the story for investors. you need to think about, how do I sell this? How do I pitch it? How do I get people to understand it? And it's also for your web content and everything else. And you as the founder, that's your responsibility. This isn't something you can assign to a PR firm, okay? And yeah, nobody loves your baby more than you, and that's what it comes down to, is you're passionate about what you do, you've been doing this for a long time, you have everything in it, right? You quit your job, you know you're taking a massive risk, and no one's gonna give a shit more about your company more than you, and that really comes across, especially when you talk to reporters. Later on, when you're ready, you need to bring some help, you need to bring someone in that can help you out on this. I wouldn't recommend doing a PR firm. I'd actually try to get someone that can come in as a contractor, or actually an apostle. Because the reason I say that is because they need to have a religious devotion. Hello? Hello? I don't need it. So people, they need to have a religious devotion to your company, and they need to be messengers. They need to be an ambassador of your brand, and they need to go out there and actually make sure that that passion that you have about your company is conveyed through them as well. And they're not going to get that when they're sitting in an office in another city. They need to be in your office, and they need to feel your energy, and they need to talk to your developers, and they need to be part of your team. It's critical. So there's a simple formula when it comes to actually getting a lot of press. Is build a product that matters, right? Like, there's so many products out there that are doing so many different things. Hey, we're gonna copy this other company, or we're gonna do something innovative. Don't just create a little technical widget. You need to do something that actually is going to change the world, right? Especially when we're doing technology. That's what we're in this for. It's not about making money. If you're in this for the money, we could have another talk on the side here, because that's not what's going to keep things going. There's going to be hard times. It's going to be really difficult. You're going to run into some serious issues along the way. And if you're in it for the money, or there's people on your team that are in it for the money, they're going to leave. There has to be something else. And this is something else that will come across when you talk to the press. Next is making sure that people know about it. It's great to have that great product, but you got to make sure that everyone out there hears about it. This is the tough part, right? And a little bit of luck, right? But you know what? We make our own luck. Just like the lottery, you have to play to win, okay? And when we're talking about luck here, the only energy that takes, the only risk you take is actually putting yourself out there and talking to reporters. A lot of times it's really difficult, especially technical guys. Hey, I'm behind the computer, I'm not the social guy. It's like, either am I. I didn't want to be the guy that goes out there and does it, but you have to. You don't have a choice, okay? You're the one that understands the technology more than anybody else, and you need to get out there and sell it as well. Make sure that you define what your story is. You don't build technology, okay? Don't say we're a technology company. You solve a problem, right? We got to make sure that that's the message that gets through when you're talking to reporters. Nobody cares that you're a SaaS model, you're this a platform for this, that, and the other thing. Maybe some of the technical publications will, and the broader media, they don't care. They want to hear about the problem you solve, and more importantly, how you solve it, particularly if it's a unique way. And also, think about how your product can fit into larger trends. This is also important. Don't be narrow. Think about how your product can fit into other realms. Follow the news. Is there a way that you can get your product into that? Or can you be a subject matter expert into that particular product or field or whatever topic they're talking about? And I'll give you some examples of what we've done in that area. So when you define your story, keep it concise. It's really easy. We created X to solve Y, right? So that can be every year, people die because of Y. Or businesses lose billions of dollars because of Y. Or even better, our family needed a way to solve Y. There's a story right there. We saw a problem because we felt the pain, and we went out there and we solved it. Really important to avoid jargon, right? We start talking about all the technical jargon, all the technical mumbo jumbo. When you start talking to reporters, right, you're going to lose them, right? No, there's also a little arrogance there. When we start talking on technical terms, we use, Ruby on Rails, and yeah, we're using GitHub, blah, blah, blah. They don't get that. They don't care, right? They do not care. Keep it concise and focus on your story and focus on the problem that you solve. So when it comes to writing, this is true for the web, it's true for press outreach, is make sure that you write down what you want to say, remove all the technical jargon, try to write in plain English, cut it down by 50%. Remove as many words as you possibly can. And when you're done with that, do it again. Keep it nice and simple. We live in the Twitter generation. If you can put your business plan in 140 characters, high five. So there's also this mentality, especially with technical people, it's like, we're too complex. They're out there and they're pitching the media about their technology, and it's just like, well, nobody understands our genius, right? It's not the press's job to understand your genius. I like to call it you're being the emo bear, okay? You're out there, it's like, we're too complex, nobody understands, we're too indie. This happens a lot in Portland, right? The problem is you're boring and you're being uncreative. You need to get out there and find a way to actually do your thing, okay? This is very, very important. So dealing with reporters, you realize they're busy. They're actually probably busier than you are. They're usually doing a lot of different stories at any given time, and they're working really crazy hours. They're generally not technical, so again, remove that technical jargon, right? Give them the sweet story that they want, that they can actually interest their readers with. They also do a lot of different levels of fact-checking, I found. So I've had local reporters will do very little fact-checking on the back of your story. I did a particular example with the Boston Globe. This reporter, he was on my ass, like you wouldn't believe. Every 2 hours I was getting phone calls because he was testing every component of our product, right? I was about to lose it. I was about to say, look, just forget it, right? But I didn't. We were patient and we dealt with it and we worked through it, and he actually came up with a lot of great ideas of how we can improve our product. And it was a good thing we did, because then he went on a national news show and he demonstrated our product on the air, and it was great. And he wrote this great story about how great our company was. So you really got to be patient with some of these folks. They're going to ask you really tough questions. A lot of times it'll be questions you cannot answer, and that's okay, because when that happens, go back home, look at that question, and find a way that you can answer it the next time. I can answer a lot of questions now, and now sometimes when people ask me a question, and I'm just like, oh yeah, I'm ready. It's also highly competitive, so you can offer reporters exclusives. That's a really great way to actually create the relationship with your with some of the writers. I do that on some of our recovery stories. I go to them first and I say, hey, there's this really great story we have. Would you like first crack at it? And that's really great to build that sort of relationship. Press releases are dead. Okay, this is another thing. This is where I kind of go into a lot of the PR firms, because that's really all they do. They just create press releases for you. Reporters receive about 100 to 300 press releases a day, and most of the language is written by the CEO of that company. If you ever read them, it's got all kinds of technical industry jargon, right? All kinds of keywords, all kinds of crap. It's dealing more with for the board, for the CEOs. It's not written for a story. It's really not. And press releases are completely dead as a result. There's a lot of marketing happy talk. I mean, just how many trees are killed because they have to print this shit out. It drives me nuts. So what I'd like to say is we're in a realm more of the social press, where it's no longer about you and your company, it's about larger trends, right? So again, see how you fit into a larger picture, right? How can your product be tied into a different story? It's no longer a one-to-one relationship with the pitches, it's more of a one-to-a network. What's really amazing is you get one viral hit on one blog, it'll actually carry over into a bunch of other blogs. It sort of cascades. That's how you create this sort of viral story. And I'll show some examples of that in a little bit. So it's really not what reporters say about you, but a lot of times it's readers' reactions, right? That's what the reporters need. They need people to come to the website to click on the ads. They need more people to hit their website. And there's this sort of communication too. People write comments in the forums. People will retweet it because that's what they want. They want people to share this article with their friends. That's how they're going to get more readers. So that tweet button, that Facebook button, everything that you pitch to that reporter needs to tie in with this. How can they get more readers to read that story? So again, 140-character tweet is more powerful now than a press release. It's more important to have a good Twitter presence and have a really good way of messaging, and not just tweeting, but also just in your emails, be very clear, concise, and get that story out there. Reporters love data. So if you can actually, here's a good example. We found that 12,000 laptops reported lost or stolen in U.S. airports every week. And actually, a competitor came up with this study, right? But they did to this one agency, this group they did, this is sort of open source, whatever, so we stole it. We use it in all of our pitches. And I use it too when I talk to reporters, because this is a really interesting thing for them to actually get people to read their story. Stats, use competitor studies again, or create your own. It's okay to go out there and create your own study. Hey, 1 out of 4 people said this in our particular survey. That's relevant. Give them everything they need for an article. So basically, reporters get sensitive. You don't want to write the story for them, but to give them all the pieces that they need to actually write that story. they don't need to do any more work, right? If you give them all the stats, all the photos, all the information they need to write a really compelling story, you're done. And I'll even show you an example of that we've done locally. Reporters, the #1 research tool is Google. That's the first place they will go to find information on a particular subject. So you talk about search engine positioning. You know, people will tell you pay for ads, but actually put a lot of research and work into organic searches as well. Because when reporters are looking for information, they're not looking to buy a product, right? So, for example, if you do a search for mobile theft, we're on the first set of results, right? We did a lot of work to get there, and it has a lot to do with the press too, getting a lot of backlinks and actually people linking back to us. But it's really important. Sometimes you can't get on the front page, especially for something like laptop theft, which is highly competitive. So what I found I can do is actually, I found that laptoptheft.org wasn't taken, so I went ahead and registered that. That gives me a little more Google juice. I then started writing a blog that just talks about general resources about laptop theft. And of course, most of those are dealing with GadgetTrak. So once you get someone to your website, you got to make sure that you look professional, right? It's really important. There's no reason not to have a good website. Take that $10,000 a month that you're going to put into a PR person and build a good website. Hire a good designer to go out and do this. Perception is everything. You know, it's been great. I had a background in designing a lot of corporate websites, so I was able to actually do it myself. And it was great because a lot of people thought we were bigger than we really were. People didn't realize it was just me in my house. This was like a side project I was working on. So it's really important to make sure you have a really great website with good, concise content that deals specifically with your topic. So a little example, we've been on Good Morning America a few times, so I kind of want to show you an example of how we did this. It was luck. There was a lady that had her camera stolen, and it was a weird thing. She had this iFi card, and all of her photos started getting uploaded to Flickr. They were able to get a photo of the guy that actually stole it. So what happened was the reporter's like, I've never heard anything like this. So he started doing Google searches. And I actually asked him how he found us. And he did a search for tracking stolen devices. And what do you know? There we are. So he clicked on it, and I got a call. And I got this call, and it was he went to voicemail from this guy from Reuters, and I'm thinking, great, it's my friend screwing with me again, right? So I called him back, and sure enough, we got included in the story. I started talking about how this tracking technology can work, how, sure, this was an accident, but we've actually found ways to make devices phone home. The nice thing about this is that Reuters kind of flows into a lot of the larger media, including Good Morning America. I got a call from Becky Worley, who's their tech correspondent. She was asking a lot of other questions. She actually went out to and met with the lady that had her camera stolen, and she asked me a lot more questions, and she included us in the story. Not only that, a year later, because she was now a GadgetTrak customer, she included us in some radio interviews, right? And she also included us one Christmas as one of the top 5 devices to have for Christmas on Good Morning America. Free. So it kind of talks about how, like, Associated Press, Reuters, they write a lot of articles that sort of feed into the larger mainstream press, like New York Times, which are a little higher up. Then you have a lot of tech pubs. So this all can kind of flow downhill. You then have local stations, like here, local coverage. I think Silicon Flores is really the one that covers the startup community here the best. Rick's done a really great job with that. And then you also have hobby blogs, forums, and Twitter. So all these are relevant. And make sure you monitor every single one of those. One good thing to do, like we did, is offer something for free. When we started out GadgetTrak, that's why we got all the big press. Tons of people were using it. That's going to bring a lot of people to your website, testing it out. A lot of reporters as well. It's going to help you create some buzz. A good example of it is a little project we do with CPU usage here. I found a way to extract image data. We can actually get a serial number of the camera that took a photo. It was sort of a theory we had. But the problem was, getting a lot of those images out there, actually going out and indexing these websites, and CPU usage helped us out a great deal with that. And this was great. I was advising Jeff on this. I had this kind of idea for it, so we went ahead and we launched it as a product. And then I fed that out to some journalists that I had relationships with, which was great. So we got the New York Times and the Economist. It wasn't a huge hit, but some nice coverage. But what that led to was some awareness in the photography community, particularly professional photographers, and we had a recovery. A guy named John Heller, he had his camera stolen about a year ago, and he used our service about 3 months ago. He found a hit, and he actually found this guy, tracked him down through Facebook, and there's like blurred out there, but there's his camera right there. And as a result of this, it was massive. This is the first recovery of its kind, right? Imagine that, like, camera can get stolen, you're taking photos with a stolen camera, a year later that can be tracked back to the thief. So it was a pretty amazing story. So I went back to one of my reporters that I have a good relationship with, and I gave him an exclusive, and he put a simple post up on Boing Boing. This then fed into larger media, and it led to one of our biggest spikes in traffic ever. We had 30,000 hits on our website in one day. I had to upgrade our RAM twice. So what I like to call press bombing. So how do you get out there? How do you kind of monitor it? So it's more of a pull. So monitor your brand. So through Twitter, Google alerts. There's also things called row feeder, which is a great way to monitor things on Twitter. People are talking about your brand, and it'll actually load it into a Google spreadsheet for you. You can follow up later. Monitor your competitors' brands. I do this quite a bit, especially some of our bigger competitors that are publicly traded. Monitor your competitors' PR staff. I follow them on Twitter. Right? I know when they'll go on vacation, which can actually be, you can actually use it to your advantage. Or if there's some big press event that they're going to talk about, or where they're speaking, things like that, there's ways you can actually do sort of some interesting recon. So monitor industry keywords as well, like things that are related to your industry. Look at any keywords you're targeting on your website, make sure you're doing searches for that, and anytime they pop up, right? And make sure you act quickly on it. Know your competitors' products inside and out. This actually can be very helpful for you, especially when you're talking to reporters, because they're going to ask you why you're different. And if you can provide them information about that, I'll kind of talk about how that played to our advantage as well. How to cyberstalk your reporters. So it's hard to find contact information for reporters, but sometimes the best way to do it is, you try to reach out to them. Let's say there's a correction on an article they wrote. Just, hey, you got this wrong, this statistic's wrong, here's some other helpful information. Numerous times I've actually gone to someone who's wrote about our competitors, and I told them, hey, here's an interesting factoid, we're here too, here's how we're different, and they've actually updated that website. It's really amazing. You can't do that in print, but you can do that on the web. It's very rare that it'll happen, but it's definitely worth it if you can get another link and be included in that. I'd really recommend using LinkedIn. If you don't have a LinkedIn Premium account, I highly recommend it, not just for PR, but also for business development. That's really the only way to get a hold of a lot of people and reporters. You can search by name and usually get a hold of them. Also, when you're commenting on websites, be careful. Remember, you're representing your brand, not just you, especially if you get pissed off. Be very careful and very, very political. I've actually done both. I've been very political, and other times I've said things I shouldn't have early on, but you learn, right? Also, Haro, Help a Reporter. This is a really great website you should sign up for. This is where actually press look for people that are subject matter experts in various fields. They're looking for information. I really recommend that you sign up for it. It's free, so why not? Talking to reporters, what you say can be used against you, right? Sometimes you get a call from reporters. That story, they're asking you all kinds of questions, getting you to divulge all kinds of information. Sometimes that information can be used against you. I highly recommend let reporters draw their own conclusions. Don't go into specifics about your product. Answer their questions. Give them a general outline of how your product works. This will play to your advantage. Don't go into details, especially technical people. Don't let the developers talk to the press, unless because they will tell what's wrong with the product. All these different issues. And, this isn't what you want to convey to the press, right? No matter what's happening. Now, we all deal with startups, right? We look like we have our shit together. There's all kinds of shit on the back end you don't know about, right? And we don't need to let reporters know about that, right? We want to make sure that we're focusing on the positive. Avoid rants and tangents. This is something I'm highly guilty of. This is something I have to have a rubber band. I just have to snap myself to avoid doing. Make sure that you stick with the questions. Relax and breathe, especially if it's a live interview. I know it's really scary, but if you relax and breathe, and most importantly, just be yourself. Right? You're a startup. Don't try to be the CEO. Acting like you're whatever. Just be really relaxed, and actually being genuine has a lot of mileage when it comes to the press, if they're going to come back to you. If you're kind of a douchebag CEO kind of guy, they're not going to talk to you again. So here's a little example of how I got my ugly mug into Forbes. We're actually going to be in the next issue. Oh.
You can hear you really well.
No.
We can hear you great.
So we're going to be at Forbes, actually. It hits the newsstands on the 24th. And I'll give you an idea of how we do that. And it's just all about how awesome I am. No, we're really lucky. So I'm really paranoid when it came to our product and our privacy. So that's why we're a big differentiator between some of our competitors. They have backdoors into people's computers. They're doing some really invasive things that a lot of people don't know about. I have a security background, I realized that, and I knew there was a better way. So I really focused on privacy. We put a lot of development resources and money into it. And it finally paid off because one of our competitors, the big publicly traded one that does $70 million a year in revenue, they had an issue where there was a little sex scandal where one of their employees accessed someone's computer. Sure, they thought it was stolen, but they got some very salacious images of her, and they actually gave them to the police. The police showed up and they showed, hey, these are photos of you. We need the laptop back. So they took it a step too far. She sued. And there was a lot of other issues around how they do what they did. They kind of tapped into like wiretap laws, things like that, things that we knew were an issue, and I've just been waiting for this, right? This is why I monitor this stuff. This is what, and I was unleashed. I went and I was writing a carefully worded response. I went out and I did reach out to reporters on LinkedIn. One is Kashmir Girl, who I actually follow quite a bit. She's a great writer. Now she's especially covering us. And but also a lot of other ones, like Wired, things like that. I went out there and I had this prepared statement, how we're different. We knew this was coming, and it really helped out. So I got a call from her one day, and she asked me all kinds of questions. And not only did I give information about our product, but I gave her information about all of our competitors. She wanted to know more information about who other competitors were out there. I didn't try to hide it. I go, here's who they are. Here's how we're different. We don't have as much revenue as they do. We don't have as many customers, but we have some really unique stories, and I told her all about that. And then I get a call, and it's like, well, we'd like to have a photographer come out and take a picture of you. There's me on the Broadway Bridge. So even though this whole story is about my industry as a whole, I'm front and center, and we got some really good. I had like one short quote, but the beginning of the whole article is about us. So this can all pay off if you really do the outreach and the monitoring correctly. It can pay off. So again, it's about being an expert. Make sure you do your homework. In your industry, focus on. You should be doing this anyway. Even if you're a CEO and you're not technical, you need to talk to your tech team. You need to let them do some homework as well and provide you with information. It's critical because anything that you do, even if it's not directly tied to your product, it can actually get you some press. Be the go-to person for your industry. That's something that's great. I get calls from KGW now that they want to talk about hacking or mobile security, anything like that, even if it's not directly related to our product, and I can actually show them demos and things like that. I even showed them how to hack a Facebook profile. It was fun. Be on call for reporters 24/7. I give them my cell phone number and I say, call me anytime. I've talked to a New York Times reporter at 2 o'clock in the morning because they're working on a story. They appreciate that, right? They can call you, they need a question, something needs to be clarified, you pick up the phone immediately, they love that. Reach out to reporters with story ideas. So again, you can reach out to them with ideas, even if it's not directly related to your product. And you really got to love what you do. Again, that passion will always come through when you talk to reporters. If they see that you love what you do, you're really into this, that really comes across, and it'll pay off in the long run. So something to remember is who's your audience. I was always get frustrated we never get coverage in TechCrunch. And it's just, I think it's more a respect, right? And a lot of it has to do with our geography. I'll get to that in a minute. But it's interesting is that we did get on TechCrunch, but did it amount to sales? No. We had an article that was written by Switch, who was AOL, and we actually got on the AOL homepage, right? This was massive. It's weird, like all of a sudden, like my aunts, my uncles, like, oh my God, I just read about you on AOL. And it's like, don't you guys know what I'm doing? Like my mom's Christmas card, she's not conveying that. So, well, when it came down to sales, here's the difference. In one day, I did $3,800 in sales as a result of that, right? So think about who your audience is. Like, who cares what TechCrunch thinks, right? Go out to other publications, right? Go out there and actually make money. That's the most important aspect. So here's a little infographic I did on TechCrunch. So we live in a black hole here when it comes to press. Alan Rick's back there, see him right there. He's done a really great job here in Portland of actually talking about the startup community. You see things that are happening with Pi. We're here, right? This is like this is probably the biggest startup weekend ever. And things are starting to happen here, and a lot of that's thanks to Rick. And we are in a black hole, but I think the important thing we need to realize is that reach outside of Portland. It doesn't matter if the Oregonian doesn't cover you, the Portland Business Journal doesn't cover you. Don't take it personally. Just go beyond Portland because there's tons of press opportunities that are out there. It's massive. You just got to have to tweak your messaging and know who to talk to. a nice thing about the thing is we try to get some endorsements. When we launched our iPhone application, I don't know if you guys knew who Tony Robbins was, right? He was like, I always thought he was a douchebag, sorry, personally, but it's not my thing. But then all of a sudden I get this. It was on our Twitter stream, I'm like, what the heck? And I went like 2 million followers, and like his followers are not just regular followers. These people are like, they're serious. This thing got retweeted to oblivion, you know, as a result of it, you know, this is our sales, we spiked, right? We were like number 2 in our particular category for iPhone apps. So thank you, Tony. I'm a believer. And then this one too, this is the Sydney Rowan Herald. We actually had a really good it was basically in the homepage of their tech section. We got featured, which was great. That's why we got so much sales from that one day.
You know you have to watch it like a...
So I'm going to talk about local press. So we kind of use local press to help create infomercials. So here's a little bit.
You have to watch it like a hawk because thieves are always after those laptops. In fact, FBI statistics show that 1 in 10 new laptops are stolen within the first year. A Portland man, though, has developed some software that catches the people who do this. KOIN Local 6 reporter Tim Gordon joins us now with one of the success stories. New at 6, you're going to show us how this works, Tim.
Right, Kelly, you know, one of the most popular places to get your laptop ripped off is at the airport. Well, if that happens, here's something that might help. We rely on our laptops to go with us, but if they slip away,
it's gotten a lot more sophisticated than what we can do.
Ken Westin has been developing his GadgetTrak software for about 2 years to track down your mobile devices. His latest, out just this year, tracks down laptops with amazing accuracy and detail.
If your laptop or your device is stolen, GadgetTrak can tell you where it is, who has it, and in some cases even what they're wearing.
But how? Basically, it uses Wi-Fi zones to triangulate where the computer is the first time it goes online after being stolen. And if the computer is camera equipped, it takes a picture. His latest success story is out of Brooklyn. A tattoo shop owner bought the hot laptop and turned it on.
Not only did they recover that Mac, they also found 2 other laptops that were in different cases. They didn't have our software on it, but you know, as a result of our software, we were able to solve other crimes.
All right, it's pretend, but I've stolen this laptop and I'm going down the street.
I didn't go far, opened it up, and turned it on.
And then when the system starts up, it'll capture a photo, it'll get the location, so he's right here. It gets you within 10 to 20 meters, gets you the general area of where that person is.
We talked to travelers at PDX who had not heard of laptop security technology.
I have not, but I'm interested because it could happen at any time. I think it's the security line I think that bothers me most because that's the only time it's away from me.
And that's often when they're stolen. Well, I was caught in the act as you saw there, and I quickly returned the laptop. If you want more details about this software, go to KOINLocal6.com's hotlines. Now, Kelly mentioned 1 in 10 new laptops get stolen in the first year. Get this, another study says 12,000 laptops a week are lost or stolen.
Boy, what a great story, Tim. Thanks for sharing that with us.
So that's one example. Sometimes reporters can actually help you. A lot of them have investigative reporters. We had a recovery, it was from a Sprint store. Some phones were stolen, had our software on it. I'll kind of let the story tell itself. But we weren't getting any help from Vancouver police. So I said, all right, KGW, let's see if you guys can help us out. And they were all over it. So here's another look.
That's helping track them down. News Channel 8's Ed Teachout spent the past 2 days with police and investigators on the trail of swiped cell phones. He's live outside the Washington Square Mall where the theft took place. Ed?
Well, the managers of the Sprint store here at the Washington Square Mall behind me say they're very confident that tracking software developed only miles away from here and put onto their demo phones will lead to an arrest.
This is a $500 phone. This ended up being a $450 phone.
2 empty display cradles are all that remains after someone stole 2 demo cell phones from the Sprint store at Washington Square Mall on Saturday. Moments after surveillance video caught the theft on tape, employees initiated tracking software installed on the stolen phones.
They were able to not only find the GPS location of the individuals that took them, but also we've been able to monitor any activity that happens in the phone.
That activity took shortly after the phones were stolen. Tiger police taken on cell phones and being told to send back pictures once they're stolen.
And that has not only piqued the interest of our investigators, but in essence appears at this point could be very credible information for us to follow up on.
The former creator of the software tracking the theft says police are on the right track.
If they're not the thieves, they definitely know who's stolen.
If you look over the head of this man, this is it. With the help of a GadgetTrak investigator on the phone, we tracked the stolen phone signal to this Vancouver apartment complex. There we found the exact temporary permit. A woman who told us off camera a man she called Peter had sent this photo to her Saturday evening, but says she knew nothing about the phone. Hi, Hans had tracked the second cell phone signal to this duplex about 8 blocks away.
You don't have a Samsung Epic phone this location?
We're back live now outside the Washington Square Mall, where we've just obtained within the hour the DMV records on that temporary permit. They hope the men in the pictures will contact them soon so they can explain how their faces ended up on a stolen cell phone.
That was a really interesting story. We actually, those guys, they caught one of them. One of them still on the run, but it led to a larger organized crime ring. They actually had 6 more people involved. They went and found a bunch of other stolen phones, other equipment, and a stolen car. So we're not just a technology company, we're superheroes. So a lot of this comes down to, I think a lot of it, you know, if you're doing a startup, it's hard to put yourself out there, but you know, if you're quitting your job, you're doing these other sorts of things, you're taking a huge risk, and that's really what it's about, is taking risks, and it's the same thing on the PR side. Sometimes you're going to be wondering, like, should I do this or shouldn't I do it? You know, what's the cost? Sometimes if you get embarrassed or whatever, you can't answer a question. That's what we're always afraid of. We're afraid of looking stupid, right? But you know, once you get over that and you get out there, you're going to get a lot more press and you know, tell more people about your technology. Thank you.